America's worst nightmare has come true. For decades, they have marketed themselves as the guardians of democracy. But as it turns out, much of the world sees them as a threat. A bigger threat to democracy than even China and Russia. It is a tough pill to swallow, not just for the US, but even for its critics. So what exactly is the story here? This assessment is based on a worldwide poll on democracy. It is done every year by the Alliance of Democracies Foundation. This time they polled around 50,000 people from 53 countries. They were asked a range of questions, like how they rank freedom of speech or the influence of big tech and social media. But the most striking question was this one. Who is the biggest threat? Who are the biggest threats to democracy? And this is how the world answered. 44% respondents named the United States, 38% named China, 28% Russia. At first glance, it doesn't make much sense. But remember, this is not about internal democracy, it's about global democracy. Just think about America's checkered past. Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, Vietnam, these are countries they invaded and destabilized. What we're trying to say is this, that the US is a larger power here. They are involved all over the world. In comparison, China and Russia have a limited sphere of influence. So in a global survey, it is natural for more people to fear the US. But that doesn't mean that America is off the hook. This survey is a reality check for Washington. They want to be the chief guardian of democracy, but with a negative rating of 44%, that's a difficult claim. So is there a silver lining for the US? Well, there is. A large chunk of the negative ratings came from Russia and China, two of America's biggest rivals. And compared to last year, America's ratings have actually improved. So this survey should serve as a lesson. Democracy is not anyone's monopoly. The United States is a democracy, but so is Germany, so is India, Japan, and dozens of other countries, and each of them follow their own system. And this is what America finds hard to accept. It believes that democracy is what happens in Washington. What does the survey have to say about this? 81% of respondents endorse democracy. They say it's the best form of government despite everything. But 44% of them also trash the US. So the bottom line is this: the world wants democracy, but not the democracy dictated by the United States. Let's tell you a little more about the findings. Not just countries, some businesses also featured on it. And no prizes for guessing which one. Big tech. 48% people view tech companies as a threat to democracy. In the US, that figure is almost 62%. People fear tech giants more than curbs on free speech. How ironic is that? Tech firms always use the argument of free speech to block regulation. Turns out, they are the bigger villain, and everyone knows that. So the United States, tech giants, China. These are the big threats to democracy, but one indicator ranked higher than all three of these. And it's not something you would guess. Economic inequality. 64% people called it the biggest threat to democracy. It is linked to the ongoing Wuhan virus pandemic. It has put millions of people out of jobs. In 2020, 70% people were happy with their government's pandemic response. This was in both democracies and non-democracies, but 1 year later, democracies have fallen to 51%. Why is that? Well, look at China and you'll understand why. They ignored human rights. They consulted no one on lockdowns. They punished people who dissented. You see, decision-making is easier in autocracies because they do not care about the impact. They do not even have to worry about getting more and more people on board. So what are the big takeaways from the survey? Number one, America is not judge and jury. The Star-Spangled Banner is not the chorus for democracy. Number two, this is not an endorsement of either China or Russia. Their human rights record speaks for themselves. Number three, don't trust everything that you see in a poll. In this one, 71% Chinese said that they had the right amount of democracy, 71% in China. Now, if the right amount is none, then yes, they're right. But the biggest takeaway is this. Democracy works, and we do not need superpowers or big corporations to defend it. In fact, we need them to stay away. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.